Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. I am doing great. I'm coming to you from Anderson, South Carolina. Today we're gonna have a pretty special vlog. This is someone we're paying tribute to who I had an immense amount of respect for. I learned of his talents in the movie Get On Up, playing James Brown, which not an easy part to play. And unfortunately, this man's life ended right at basically the same age that I am. Today we're going to explore a little bit of the life of the great Chadwick Boseman. Daze with Jordan the Lion. It begins right now. Hello Anderson, this is my first time here. One thing I noticed already about Anderson, a lot of art, a lot of color, a lot of flowers. Pretty beautiful town. I wanted to start downtown today because Chadwick actually grew up, was born and raised in this town. He was a product of this town. He went to high school, was a basketball star here, and right at the front, right in the downtown in front of, I believe it's the courthouse, there's a Civil War statue that they actually wanted to remove in Chadwick's honor. And they also have a really wonderful tribute through murals downtown, and I believe it's going to be a permanent display in his honor. I love all the art downtown. Take a look at this one. Anderson, the Electric City. Anderson was dubbed the Electric City in 1895 when William C. Whitner, an engineer and native of Anderson, built a hydroelectric power plant, which was the first in the South to transmit electricity over long distance lines. The plant in McFall's Mill at High Shoals on the Rocky River 6 miles east supplied power to light the city and also operate several industries. And here he is, this is William Whitner, and right behind him is actually the Confederate statue that they petitioned to actually have Chadwick replaced with a statue. After his death, I believe it takes like 15,000 signatures, and within a day it got 50,000. Of course, the statue is still here right in front of the courthouse, but who knows, that could possibly end up being replaced at some point because of that, because of the petition. I believe Chadwick's family still lives here. He has an older brother who's a pastor named Derek, and he had a middle brother named Thomas, who he said was his inspiration for wanting to be a performer. He said when he grew up there wasn't really a lot of people around that made you feel like you could do something like that, but his brother loved doing that, loved being a performer. And when he saw that, Chadwick said as the younger brother, he would always think, hey, that's a possibility, maybe I could do that for a career. But this town wasn't always the great, life that you would hope it would have been for him. But those were things that happened here he would talk about that actually kind of influenced who he was and what kind of artist he was, including he would say that when he would go to high school, he would see the Confederate flag on people's cars. His family would have people try and run them off the road because it was the South. Said that they would, he would encounter issues where someone would call him a racial epithet, and instead of him blowing up and wanting to get outraged by it, his parents would say, don't cause a scene, just let it lie. Now if you come just a block away to the Wren Pavilion, which looks like an old building that they're renovating or something, it's actually the art gallery dedicated to Chadwick. And so he would take the experiences he had here, and those are what he would put into his art. He would try and make art that wasn't stereotypical of the black life. In fact, he lost a job for All My Children. He was on the soap opera, and the part he was playing was a kid with a drug addict mother and no father, and he went to the directors and said, can we give this character some more depth and some, a little bit outside the stereotypes? And they ended up replacing with Michael B. Jordan, and then they did make the change. But here you can see honoring the life of Anderson's own Chadwick Aaron Boseman, November 29th, 1976 to August 28, 2020. The work of local artists inspired by Mr. Boseman's life and legacy. So, as you look around, you can see there's, you know, the shell of an old building, and I love what they did with it, depicting different parts of his life. I mean, to me, there's movie star, there's actor, and then there's something beyond that. And I really do feel like he was that something beyond that to me. He was beyond a great actor. He was somebody that you could see on camera and you actually believed they were that person. Of course, he was Black Panther, a part that he was asked to do. He got a 5-movie deal to play Black Panther and didn't even have to audition for it. They had seen him in 42 and they had seen him in other stuff and they wanted him, and he was great. He came up with, because part of his family, I believe his family lineage was that one side was Creole and the other side was Nigerian, so he kind of came up with the way that they speak in Black Panther and that dialect and everything, and that would be something they would follow into all the movies. He was extremely good at portraying other people, which he didn't necessarily want to do all the time, but the parts were just so good. He would play, as you can see, he would play Jackie Robinson in the movie 42. He would also play Thurgood Marshall in Marshall. He was in the Ernie Davis story. He was James Brown right there, you can see, and Get On Up. And that movie, amazing. You want to talk about a hard part to play. To dance, to portray James Brown, to have that accent, that's really what made me a fan of him. I remember watching that movie and just going, this guy is unbelievable. I don't know how you can keep that accent and keep it consistent for as long as he does through the movie.
Which one of you gentlefolk hung a number 2 in my commode? Was it you, sir? Was it you?
Don't shoot.
I ain't gonna shoot nobody, son. It was you, wasn't it?
Okay.
You took a break in my bathroom, didn't you? Yes, you did.
And I read that he actually would stay in character when they weren't filming, because if he didn't, he was worried he would lose the strength to do that voice, because it's a very unique Southern voice. And he, I feel like, picked it up very well. Same with Jackie Robinson. When he got that part, he had to train for 5 months with baseball coaches, and they would film his workouts and they would film all the training and everything, and then they would A/B it next to Jackie Robinson's footage, and then they would show him, and he would have to work on getting his form and everything to be like Jackie. And he said that when he got the part, first thing he wanted to do was meet with Rachel Robinson. And he said once he talked to her, he felt like a good idea of who Jackie the man was, so he could portray more than just the stereotype that we had always seen. And same with Thurgood Marshall. He didn't feel like necessarily he looked or maybe should have been playing Thurgood, but they wanted him, and he said he saw the strengths in Thurgood and what made Thurgood who he was. And so he said, much like a painting, you take the elements out of it that you like and the things that are dominant, and that's what you end up using to portray the character. So it's really cool to see that. And then, of course, he was signed to do the Marvel movies, to which Black Panther would get his own movie. And that was sadly the time that he found out that he had stage 3 colorectal cancer and battled it for 4 years, with really only letting family and close friends know, and was able to get most of the work done that you can see Black Panther in there, sorry about the shadow, but really wanted to complete his work. and was able to do that. But he would waste away, actually. He was losing a lot of weight, and people were commenting on it. I remember when people would be wondering why he was getting so thin. They thought it was maybe for like a role, but in actuality, he was battling what turned into stage 4 cancer, and he ended up passing away at home, surrounded by his family in California. And they had a funeral in California, and I guess he wanted his ashes spread, but they didn't spread his ashes. They actually brought him back here. This is such a great gallery. I really feel like they captured every great part of him. Because this is a guy, when Black Panther was a success, he would go out and he would use his own money to visit kids and gift. I remember he gifted, I forget how much money he gave, like it was like $10,000, so that kids in New York, if they wanted to go see Black Panther, that money would pay for their admission to go through this program. And he would go meet with sick kids. He would end up donating like $4 million towards helping to cope with COVID. So he was a good guy. He really was a really great guy. And a local here. He was a star basketball player here in high school, and actually had a chance to go play in college, but opted to go to Howard because he liked what Howard stood for, which was like, it was meant to be, when it was founded, it was like a college to, or university to help African Americans be caught up with, you know, what else was being taught. And so he just thought that was a great history. And when he went there, he originally wanted to be a director, but decided to take some acting classes so he could understand how actors thought. And then one of his teachers there was Felicia Rashad, and she became his mentor, and he really fell into loving acting, and then applied for a special training over in Oxford, at Oxford. And he was accepted along with a couple of other students, but he didn't have the money to go. And Felicia Rashad went out and got Denzel Washington to pay for Chadwick to go to that school. He said he actually got a beneficiary letter saying, Denzel Washington has paid for you to go to school. So it was pretty cool. He would eventually end up getting to work on one of Denzel's productions at the end of his life, and it would be released right after his passing. Family still lives here in town. In fact, they're very involved in Chadwick's legacy, where I saw the town just voted to rename one of the schools Chadwick Boseman Fine Arts Center. What a great memorial to a great man. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen 42 or Marshall or Get On Up, I would tell you, personally, I say go see Get On Up first. He had to train for several months to learn how to do that dance. He would sing some of the songs in the movie. He danced all that stuff. That was not a stunt person. That was all him. And that accent. It's just an unbelievable movie. And it was actually, one of the producers was Mick Jagger, and Mick Jagger kind of helped coach him on how to perform the performance scenes, how to connect with the audience. And then, oh, that's great. This one's childhood. Looks like he's got boxing gloves on. I know when he was a kid, he did take martial arts and then picked it back up later on in life when he moved out to Hollywood. He ended up teaching, after he finished at Howard, he moved to New York and was teaching and directing and writing plays in Harlem, and was actually part of the Shakespeare Company of New York City and played in Romeo and Juliet. So he had a really deep acting resume. From theater to film to TV. He was on ER and Criminal Minds, things like that. Wow. That is just, I absolutely love what they've done here. Looks like people come and sign it. Chadwick Boseman, man. A short life, but a life well lived. Then over here on the other side, there he is, Black Panther. I read that his brother, his older brother, actually volunteered to reprise that character for Marvel if they wanted, but I don't think Marvel decided to do that. Even though, you know, it's a nice sentiment. It's nice to leave it be just Chadwick's. And that says like father, like son. It's Chadwick and Denzel Washington. That's interesting. And that one's definitely all Black Panther. I don't know if you could have possibly done a cooler idea to someone, to a local, something like this. Now I know I'm not the only one that loved Chadwick, and his family and friends here in town, everybody just knew him as Chad. Chad was very popular and still is. People still read online, are always planning trips to Anderson to come visit his grave, but there's a little bit of controversy and a little bit of confusion about his grave. So I'm gonna go out to the family plot. So the family plot is over here actually at Welfare Baptist Church, and Chadwick was, or Chad was a very devout Christian. So I think this is where the family would have went to church, because the family home is actually just, you know, not too far from here. So right behind here there's a cemetery. I'll go over there and show you. There's a misconception that secretly Chad was buried here. Kind of a windy day out here, but straight ahead you can see the family plot for the Bosemans. Right there. And actually his parents were, I'm walking as close to the edge as I can. I know some people complain about that. His parents were, I believe, going to be buried here, but they're not anymore, because now they are going to be interred with Chadwick. You can see his father, Leroy, is listed on there. So yeah, there was a, you know, when you look online, it says that Chadwick's here, and some people say, well, he is actually here, they just don't want to tell you that. I don't believe that. Then you see some places online say that he wanted his ashes scattered over the Pacific Ocean, and then that's what they did. But I don't believe that either, because I saw where his wife, who he married, I believe a couple of months before he passed away, since he didn't have a will, they ended up having to go by California law, which then ended up splitting Chadwick's belongings in his estate amongst his wife and his parents. And what I read was that she was reimbursed $47,000 for Chadwick's funeral, and part of that was $7,500 for his mausoleum. I mean, I'm looking over here and I'm seeing Bosemans over there, so the family's been here a very, very, very long time. I think they just anticipated that Chad was going to have a lot of visitors, and they wanted to do something special, so I think they were going to do a mausoleum. His family home is actually kind of in between here and the cemetery where he's actually interred, so I just want to swing by and take a look at the house. Chadwick would name his father, Malcolm X, and Harold Miner as some of his heroes. So that was Chadwick Boseman's childhood home. He wrote his first play when he was in 7th grade because of a fellow classmate being killed. Think how many dreams would have been birthed in there. Now let's head over to Forest Lawn. So we're gonna have to do some looking around, but I do know that he's here because after he passed, since he didn't have a will, his wife Simone had to handle all the arrangements, and she, I believe, had to end up suing the estate for $71,000 to get her money back. And at the time of that, it says in the papers that she spent $7,345 for a crypt for Chadwick, and then an additional $22,000 so that his parents could be buried next to him. But $22,000, if his was $7,000, that almost sounds like maybe she bought a crypt for herself. So also, the other reason I know that he has a specific spot, even if it's not marked, is that when they were filming, after he passed away, when they were filming the last part of the Marvel movie with Black Panther, to make it mean something, they brought the entire cast out to his gravesite. So I want to look around, see if we can find anything that has maybe 3 spots together. And normally I would go ask in the office, but I saw online that people have written in the comment sections of various Google Maps things saying that when they asked, they were told we're not allowed to give out that information, which means he's here. So what I'm hoping is that I will be able to look around enough to find a spot like this. This is for 2 people. He may not have, I mean, this could be it right here, honestly. He may not have a big elaborate mausoleum. I mean, they for $7,000, it doesn't sound like it, although at the time of his death they made it sound like it was going to be a big deal. It definitely could be right here. This definitely could be it. That's 4 plots right there. And the exact quote that I saw was that she wanted to make sure, Simone wanted to make sure that his parents got to lay side by side next to their son. So I almost wonder if that's all 4 of their plots. Also could be right up there, because both of those are sold. Both of those are sold. That's 4 right there. Actually, and there's 4 across the top. I wonder if this is it. That definitely could be it. They want to be side by side or stacked. That could definitely be it. They're sure as heck not going to tell me at the front, I know that. I mean, I'll be honest with you, from everything I've looked at, there's only a couple of places so far it could be. I've only seen, you know, enough room. If they left his grave unmarked, I've only seen a couple places that there could be 3 or 4 spots beside each other. Not many in all the mausoleums they have here. And see some of the ones that are sold. Sometimes they already have the owner's name down here in the corner, like here. But those ones that we saw a little bit ago, actually it was down here. Those are the ones that say sold on them with no name. I feel like this is it. Yep, I totally believe that he's up there in one of those sold ones. There's a part of me that thinks maybe the family doesn't want the hoopla. They don't want a lot of people out here. If he's up that high though, I mean, nobody can leave a bunch of stuff. So who knows, maybe they don't want it revealed until the parents pass or something. But as I look at it, those 4 are all sold. And then that one's sold, that one's sold. That one doesn't say, but that one's sold also. So he's probably there. He's probably right there. I would bet anything that he's right there. And that one that's not marked, sold. Because why else would everything else around it say sold, except for that one. I bet that's it right there. Yep, I've now looked at every mausoleum out here. I firmly believe that those that we saw are where he's at. No question. Because for the price that they paid, it would have definitely been one of these out here. And there's just not a whole lot of places where there are several openings. You know, like here, you go, well, maybe it could be here, because that one says sold. But below it, it says who owns this one. So it's not that one. Although I can't get confirmation, I would be willing to bet that it is in the mausoleum behind Remembrance 2. I really believe it's the space in there at the very top. Well, my friends, if you were a Chad Boseman fan, I hope you enjoyed this vlog. We may not ever know where exactly he's buried, or at least we won't know until they decide to put a marker up there. Who knows how long that could be. He passed in 2020, and it's 2024 now, and there's nothing. So I don't know. I really do believe that that is his final resting place, though. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great night from Anderson, South Carolina. Goodbye.